New York City has a long, rich musical history. Walking the streets of the city, you can almost imagine in a past life stopping to see James Brown live at the Apollo, or Mos Def freestyling in a park in Brooklyn, or the Strokes in their infancy playing in some random bar in who knows where. This energy, this bubbling of creativity and talent, permeates all aspects of life in New York City, making inspiration unavoidable if you spend any time outside of your apartment. Capturing that energy and translating it into your own creation is the age-old pursuit of artists in the city. Everyone, from Frank Sinatra to the Talking Heads to Ice Spice, wants to paint their own little slice of New York life. It's the reason why you can't go anywhere in Times Square without hearing Empire State of Mind on loop from some tourist trap somewhere. Hey, New York! I swear that was a good song at one point. I noticed this vibrancy from the day I moved here. No matter where you go, no matter how unexciting your trip for that day is, you are bound to find something or someone that moves you artistically. As a photographer, I've sort of trained myself to look for such moments that pique my interest. It can be as simple as the fading sunlight hitting a row of garbage cans perfectly, or trees that line a street just right. Recently, however, I've been paying a lot more attention to not just the sights of the city, but the sounds. There's something about the way the wind howls through the blocks by the water, or the slow crooning of an eccentric street performer in Central Park, or even the sharp clink of a subway below that makes the city feel that much more alive. The collage of noises around you moves the spirit, albeit in a more subtle and elusive way than the sights that dominate most conversations about New York. So, as of late, I've tried to do less runs to the market with headphones in, and more time soaking in the sounds of the city around me. Doing so inspired in me the idea to make a song out of sounds I record in the city, and only sounds from the city. My rough idea was to take my microphone out for a day, seek timbres and frequencies that move me, record them, and then compile them into a short cinematic song. When I did this, though, I realized the potential for much more. Why not combine my love for music with my love for video and create a more ambitious project focused on the creative freneticism that animates New York? I workshopped some general ideas on how to best bring this creative vision to life, ultimately deciding that to best get the pulse of the city, I'd walk the length of Manhattan from 225th to Battery Park, capturing all I see and hear, combining it into a collage of what a day in New York City has to offer. So I did some stretches, charged all necessary batteries, and hopped on the one train up from Midtown to Marble Hill. After 40 minutes on the train and a couple of Red Bulls, I made it to 225th, which is across the river in the Bronx, but is actually officially considered Manhattan because some people a long time ago dug a river or something like that. I set off first to the Met Cloisters, which is an art museum created by John D. Rockefeller and George Gray Bernard, set in a beautiful faux European monastery. If it weren't for the swarms of tourists and concession stands in the main cloister, you'd almost think you were transported back to medieval Europe. Money talks, and John D. Rockefeller had a lot of it, allowing him to essentially bring his monastic European dream vacation to life here in the city. After admiring the medieval art and architecture for a while, I continued on my walk down Broadway, weaving into side streets here and there, following my eyes and ears. The Manhattan sun was in full effect already, and though I took the occasional stop for fruit or coffee, I continued on my mission, down Washington Heights, through Harlem, past Columbia, and finally into my favorite place in the city, Central Park. I knew Central Park would be my best opportunity to get some live instrumentation recorded, as the park is always host to a vibrant collection of street performers, especially on a sunny summer day. I zigzagged through the park, stopping for rest often, happy to have found refuge from the pavement that had been baking me for hours. And for some reason, whenever I'm in the park, all roads seem to lead to the Met, so I stopped by my second museum of the day, this time just to enjoy the exteriors. There is a girl writing poems for passerby on a small pink typewriter. I've always admired poets and poetry, as though it's a different art form than photography. There's a shared pursuit of meaning and beauty in both. I thought it would make a great addition for my project, so I asked if she would write and then recite a poem about summertime in the city for me. She kindly obliged, writing a sugary poem about love in the city in just minutes. From there I continued south to Bethesda Terrace, where I encountered a drummer, a pianist, and a band, and I knew having recordings of actual instruments would be essential later on when creating the song, so I took my time enjoying this area of the park. From there I hesitantly exchanged the grass for the pavement and continued down 7th Avenue to Times Square. Though Times Square can get old quickly, it can be fun to lean into the bit on occasion, so I took in all the wacky sights and sounds being offered. After probably 10 minutes too long, I broke my own rule by picking up a city bike and riding it due east to Tudor City. There's a view in Tudor City that I've always loved, and I was definitely not making it there if I walked, so I justified the ride by telling myself I would only bike east to west, not north to south. I stopped there, got my shot, and continued along down Kips Bay, through Gramercy, and finally into Washington Square Park. Washington Square Park is an acquired taste, and though like Times Square can often be too much, today it was perfect. Intent on capturing all the eclectic moments the park had to offer, I wandered around for an hour or so, picking up gems of footage with every turn of the camera. I was now already 9 hours into the walk, and though the sun was setting and I was starting to get delirious, I couldn't help but be re-impassioned and reinvigorated by the energy around me. So, inspired and perhaps a bit less fatigued, I left the park, headed east towards 6th Avenue. No summer day is complete without some basketball, and since of course the Knicks got eliminated, I shot over to the Cage, which is a historic and often crowded court right near NYU. There I caught the end of the first half of an intense game, which I've come to learn is the norm at this court. I then got some Joe's Pizza to prepare me for the home stretch. Joe's is always good, never great, but that was good enough for me at that point. Against my better judgment, I added some miles by trekking across to the West Side Highway, where I met some skateboarders who let me film them doing tricks. Skateboarding, like photography, like poetry, and even like basketball, is an art form in its own right, as skating emphasizes the style in doing the trick just as much as the trick itself. I then continued down towards the financial district, where I ran into another group of young skaters. These guys had traded the precision of the skate park for something more spontaneous and unconstrained, using a rickety table from the nearby Sweet Green as the centerpiece of their tricks. They allowed me to film their attempts, silhouetted by the nearby Oculus in the setting sun, making for some great shots. I then wished them good luck and continued down to Delmonico's Steakhouse, crisscrossing the narrow streets which had said goodbye to the sun hours prior. Finally, after 11 hours, 42,000 steps, and 19.5 miles, I arrived at Battery Park, hobbling on one foot to any vantage point I could find amongst the impressively distracting fencing. What the fence view lacked in, the bench provided, so I sat down, taking in the warm summer air, sharing a moment in the park with the handful of tourists still down this far south. It had been a long day, and I was tired. Happy, brimming with inspiration, but tired. Okay, walk done. Now it was time to get to work. Though this second phase of post-production can be immensely time-consuming and frustrating, when executed right, there's nothing better than seeing your original vision slowly coming to life. So I got to work, guided by a general goal of creating a song that is equal parts fast and slow, in hopes of highlighting the juxtaposition between chaos and order in the city. To do that, I decided to center the track around 4 main thematic elements, with each one building off the energy of the previous. First, as an establishing element, the poem, written by Hannah. Second, a Central Park performer's dramatic rendition of Andy Williams' The Days of Wine and Roses. Third, the animated chants of a group of acrobatic performers near Bethesda Terrace. And fourth, a quick snippet from a guy freestyling in Washington Square Park. To provide support for these 4 main elements, I sifted through footage, looking for rhythm and melody even in the most mundane moments. I chose a dozen or so sounds and got to work chopping, repitching, stretching, distorting, and all around Frankensteining them into something presentable. After a late night or two, I finished, with the final song consisting of 24 tracks. For the drums, I chopped up the beat of a drummer in Central Park into something a tad simpler, supported by syncopated percussion made from skateboarding clips. I then added a short moment from a piano player in Central Park, processed aggressively and looped, a couple cello samples that I chopped and repitched, some atmosphere from a park in Harlem for added ambiance, and even a moment from Joe's. Finally, I threw a moment of mic feedback into a sampler and wrote some bittersweet chords to act as the harmonic foundation to support the main melodies. I put on some finishing touches, bounced the song, and edited a quick little montage highlighting my day in the city. So without further ado, here is The Sounds of NYC.
Let's bare our shoulders and crowd these concrete streets. Let's let the sweat bead on our foreheads. Let it roll sweet to our feet. Oh, for summer in New York is like a greedy lover. Like a spell you just can't shake. Like a kiss, sloppy and passion-filled, and just in time.
Home, night explodes, just a passing blink, filled with memories of a golden smile that introduced me to the days of wine and roses and you. So what you got?
He's good. What time is it?
Showtime!
What time is
worst hand, son. I didn't know you was so much hand, son. Yeah. Jumping over your worst hand, son. I didn't know you was